What if I told you that genius isn't some magic trait you're born with, but it's actually a skill you can learn? Yeah, really. And those lightning bolt moments of inspiration we always see in movies? Total myth. In this explainer, we're going to jump into Todd Seiler's book, Think Like a Genius, to break down the actual practical steps you can take to unlock your own brilliant ideas.
So, this is the big one, isn't it? The question that kind of stops us all in our tracks. You look at these incredible minds from history, and you can't help but wonder, were they just lucky? Did they win the genetic lottery? Or was it something they learned? A process that maybe, just maybe, we could replicate. The answer might completely change how you see your own potential.
All right, before we can even start building a new way of thinking, we've got to do some demolition. We have to tear down the old ideas. So let's start by busting some of the most common and honestly pretty damaging myths that surround this whole idea of genius.
You can picture it, right? The lone genius, maybe a little disheveled, working late at night, and then bam, a sudden flash of insight. We all know this image. But according to the book, this isn't just a harmless myth. It's actually a barrier. It stops us from even trying because it makes brilliance seem like this magical, unattainable thing. Okay, so if genius isn't some random flash of insight, then what is it? Well, the book argues the secret is something way more systematic. And it all boils down to one core skill: making connections. And here it is, the core idea. Genius isn't about having a super high IQ. It's about a specific kind of mental flexibility. So think about Johannes Gutenberg. He didn't just invent a printing press out of thin air. He saw a wine press over here, used for squishing grapes, and a coin punch over there, used for stamping metal, and he connected them. That's the breakthrough. It wasn't in the individual ideas, but in the bridge he built between them. The author, Todd Seiler, actually gives this process a name: metaforming. You can think of it as the engine of creative thought. It's all about taking what you know about one thing and using it as a metaphor to understand something totally new. You're actively transforming your own knowledge by building these little conceptual bridges. And this is the fundamental shift we all need to make. See, our education system often trains us for siloed thinking, right? Math is in this box, history is in that box, science is over there. But real innovation, that happens with connective thinking, when we intentionally let those ideas out of their boxes to collide and form new patterns that siloed thinkers just can't see. Now, I know this might sound a little abstract, but the book actually gives us a super practical toolkit. These are real mental frameworks that, seriously, anyone can use to start building those powerful connections and practicing this connective thinking. So the toolkit has 4 key parts. We're going to look at how to use your whole brain, balancing logic and creativity. We'll talk about how to make your thoughts tangible. Then, how to find way better solutions by asking better questions. And finally, how to pull inspiration from basically the entire world around you. First up, whole brain thinking. So often we label ourselves, oh, I'm a logical person, or I'm the creative type. But geniuses, they don't choose. They integrate both. They use the structure and the order from analytical thought to give shape to the wild, intuitive leaps that come from imaginative thinking. It's a true partnership between the two. Next, making your ideas visible. I mean, how many times have you had a really complex idea just swirling around in your head and you just can't quite get a handle on it? This is where visual tools are an absolute game changer. Sketching a concept or mapping out a system, it forces you to be clear. It turns that fuzzy, abstract thought into something concrete you can actually grab onto and work with. This might be one of the most powerful habits of genius thinkers. They don't just rush to find an answer, they actually spend more time on the question itself. By questioning their assumptions, reframing the challenge, and looking at it from totally new angles, they make sure they're solving the right problem. It turns out the quality of your question pretty much determines the brilliance of your solution. The most exciting part about all this is that it isn't just some theory reserved for historical figures. It's incredibly practical. So let's look at how you can start putting these tools into practice, like today. The number one takeaway here is that creativity is not some spontaneous, mystical force that just shows up. It's systemic. It's a result of habits, of mental frameworks, and of deliberate practice. It's a muscle. And just like any other muscle, you can train it, and it will get stronger. So, how do you train it? Here are a few simple exercises you can start with. Grab a pen and just visually map out a problem you're wrestling with. Or try using a metaphor. If this problem were a car, what part is broken?
Practice little what-if scenarios to push yourself beyond the obvious answers. These aren't just games, they're mental workouts.
Look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this quote. Genius is a skill you can cultivate. It's not a birthright. It's the result of practice and a real commitment to a different way of thinking.
So, where does this leave us? What does this all mean? Well, it requires a pretty fundamental shift in how we look at brilliance itself. It's not about being a certain kind of person, but it's all about engaging in a certain kind of process. And ultimately, this is the big reframe. We really need to stop thinking of genius as a noun, a label we stick on a person. Instead, we should think of it as a verb, a process of connecting, questioning, and creating. It's not an identity you have, it's a habit of mind you practice. So I'll leave you with a little challenge. Don't try to solve a problem today. Just pick one, any one, and ask yourself, how can I redefine this? What are the hidden assumptions I'm making that I can question? Because that single shift, that's the first step on the path to thinking like a genius.